When I tell you I was this close to shitting myself, I'm not even kidding. Absolutely no one asked for this story to be told, but here I am telling it anyway. I don't think I've properly introduced myself on this channel yet, but by the end of this video, I think we're gonna know each other pretty well. Maybe too well. So in case you don't know, my name is Alana. I have a condition called celiac disease, and I almost shit myself in a park in Madrid. Now, in case you don't know what celiac disease is, it's a condition that affects the small intestine. So when I eat gluten, my body has a literal meltdown. And instead of my body attacking the gluten, which for some reason it sees as a threat, it attacks my entire body. Like, my body literally attacks itself. Yeah, I'm a mess. It's July, it's 2017. It's 32 degrees outside. That is relevant to the story, you'll find out why later. We're organised people, so the first thing on our to-do list was to go to the local supermarket to find some food for breakfast the next day. We get to the supermarket, we ask the shop worker, where is the sin gluten section? He said, sin gluten? And I said, yes, sin gluten. And he went, sin gluten, And I was like, yes, sin gluten. He then turned to his co-worker and said, do you know where the sin gluten section is? And he was like, sin gluten? And then he was like, yeah, sin gluten. Now, any experienced celiac would tell you there should have been a massive red flag waving right in front of my face. But I did not pick up on that at all. I just trusted the shop workers and they pointed me in the direction of the organic section. Okay, now before anyone comments, you're an idiot. Yeah, I know. But I think I was like 2 years into my celiac journey at this point, and this was my second holiday, I think, with celiac disease. I was still learning how to do these things, and I put a lot of trust in people back then. Like, when I tell you now, I do not trust anyone at all. I do not trust anyone. We buy the gluten-filled organic bread, take it back to our Airbnb, and we start preparing breakfast. How cool are these? So yeah, I have these, which now looking back is so fucking funny. Because the idea behind these is that you put your gluten-free bread inside, right? You put it in the toaster that already has gluten crumbs in it, and it protects your gluten-free bread from the crumbs. Excellent product. Highly recommend take them on every holiday with me, but I would recommend buying gluten-free bread to go inside, otherwise they fucking useless. So my bread is toasting away in my toaster bag, and that day we planned to take a 30-minute walk from our hotel to El Retiro Park. You know, this one, very beautiful, I think. Now, something to note here is that from previous experiences of being glutened, that's what the celiac community like to call it, it takes exactly 30 minutes for my body to start freaking the fuck out. Just want to remind you here, it was 32 degrees Celsius. As soon as we got to those park gates, my body was like, holy shit, we've got an intruder. We need to get rid of it right now. My brain was like, well, you can't, you're in the middle of a park. My body was like, I don't give a shit. It's coming out either way, immediately. Okay, I don't know if you've ever been able to feel the color gray. That is literally the only way I can think of describing how those first few minutes feel when my body realizes I've eaten gluten. I get this rush feeling from my head all the way down to my feet, and my body starts to overheat. And in case I didn't mention earlier, it was hot enough. It was hot enough. I'm at the park gates, I come to a halt. My partner's already walked ahead because he hasn't realized I'm not with him, and then he suddenly realizes I'm not there. And that's the moment I knew I was in real trouble. When he turned around to see where I was, and his face went from normal to complete shock. And he just went, oh my God, are you okay? You look grey. I was like, I need to sit down. I need to find someone to sit. I really do not feel well. So we sit down, we find a park bench, and I'm fanning myself with his hat, like just trying to keep my body cool. My heart is racing at this point as well because I'm just like panicking. I turn to my partner, look him dead in the eye, and I say to him, I think I'm about to shit myself. Or throw up, either way, it's coming out. He ran to find a toilet, and then he was like, quick, there's one in the basement of this cafe. So I ran in, I didn't even acknowledge the staff that were there. I just ran down the stairs, I got to the bathroom door, I went to yank it open, and it wouldn't open. There was someone in there. When I tell you I was this close to shitting myself, I'm not even kidding. My partner came running down the stairs, he knew what was going on immediately. I didn't even need to say anything, he just looked at the men's toilets and went, quick, go in there. I'll stand outside and I'll just tell people where they need to go. I occupied that toilet for 2 hours. 2 hours. 2 hours of vomiting, diarrhea, vomiting and diarrhea, if you know what I mean. And the worst thing about this is that because the toilet was in a basement, there was zero ventilation. Not even a window to crack open. And it was 32 degrees. Imagine throwing up in a sauna. That's what it felt like. Eventually, I felt like I could leave the toilet even though I hadn't finished throwing up yet. But also the staff were getting really pissed off that we were occupying the toilet for 2 hours. They didn't speak English. We were trying to explain to them what had happened, but I'm pretty sure they thought I was drunk or hangover or something. The problem now is that I'm stuck, right? I haven't stopped throwing up yet. I can't walk back to the hotel because it's way too far. Like 30 minutes was way too far for me in that state. I couldn't get a taxi. I couldn't get public transport because I would have most definitely thrown up on public transport. So I was literally stuck in the park. So I'm walking through the park like doubled over. I look like I've jumped in the fountain fully clothed. I am sweating that much. I'm sipping on like small amounts of water. Like, I can't even keep that down. My body is refusing water. So for every sip of water I'm taking, I'm throwing up like 20 minutes later. I was literally living my worst nightmare. And with all of this that was going on, my brain decides now would be a great time to do some guilt tripping. I was barely able to move and my brain was like, hey, you're only going to be here for 2 days. You're going to miss out on this beautiful park. You are never going to step foot in this park or Madrid ever again for the rest of your life, which is a ridiculous idea because I can literally get on a plane anytime I want to go to Madrid. But before I could tell my brain to stop, my body was off. I was like walking around, exploring the park. I was like, oh, look at that lovely fountain. I was like, I don't know what I was thinking, but it didn't last very long because about 30 minutes later, I collapsed on a park bench. I did have a picture from that day, but I lost it. So I just had to use my creative skills on Canva. And this is what it looked like. I was eventually okay enough to stumble my way back to the hotel where I just slept for the rest of the day. Day 1 in Madrid was an absolute write-off, but we did go to a 100% gluten-free tapas bar that night. I was not taking any chances, not to sound dramatic, but if I got glutened on top of being glutened, I'm pretty sure I would die. This was the first day of a 2-week trip to 5 different cities across Europe. Not the best start to our trip at all, but we did end up having a fantastic time, and it's a trip I will never forget for numerous reasons. So what did I learn from this? Well, organic most certainly does not mean gluten-free. Shop workers are not to be trusted. In fact, I don't trust anyone, not even myself, because yes, I have glutened myself with my own food in my very own kitchen. But I think the biggest lesson for me is as a celiac, you're only ever one slice of bread away from shitting yourself in public, which was the wake-up call I needed really to take more responsibility for my health, to do more research, and to do everything in my power to prevent this from happening ever again. Spoiler alert, it has, but to no fault of my own at least. Who knows, maybe one of you will see this video and think, hey, a similar thing happened to me once, and you'll comment, you're not alone, it happens to the best of us. Just maybe. Either way, I think we've got to know each other pretty well now, don't you think? Anyway, thanks for listening. Have a good day.